you have the piece in English with you. We're learning in this 8th Torah. Just review a little bit. We'll go back a little bit. Yeah. Go back a little bit to where it says Or HaTshuva. We're seeing everything that Rav Kook was talking about. We're seeing on page 74. We really, just to review a little bit, to go where we are, just in the middle of that page 74. We'll start from there where it says Or HaTshuva on page 74. Or HaTshuva, and in the English, you should have the English. It's in the middle of exactly in the middle of the page where it says the light of return. You have that, the light of return. So everything that Rav Kook is talking about, we're watching play by play, not just b'derech klal. We're seeing everything mamish every day. So he's speaking here about the crumbling of Western civilization, which I was talking about this morning in the Chassidus Chabura, this circus this past week. What happened with these presidents of the universities? It's a symbol of this corruption and the crumbling and the falling apart of Western civilization. Rav Kook was writing about during World War I. All of the excitement from the time of the French Revolution and the American Revolution onward, all the excitement over democracy and all of the great progress that was made in the world, philosophically, socially, culturally, democratically, politically, v'chulei, all of those promising changes that had taken place in the course of modern history led to, in Rav Kook's time, to World War I, and Rav Kook wasn't zeicher to live to see. He died a short time before the Holocaust. Wasn't zeicher to see what would happen in the Holocaust. And we have, of course, the same dimion after that happened, that we were done with that barbaric time of history, and we had climbed out of the Middle Ages from the middle 20th century, and now we were in 2023, and everything is now completely different, and Western civilization is on firm grounding, democracy, in the light of democracy, in the light of equality. What do they call diversity? What's the Russian? Those departments they have? Equity, inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That we're now in a new age of equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and everybody's going to be treated equally, and everything's developing, everything's beautiful. And
except if you're Jewish.
Except if you're Jewish. So Rav Kook writes about the crumbling of Western civilization, and how ultimately all of this so-called progress is not able to hold back the rishus, the plain rishus, and the churban and the exarias that took place in his time, and is taking place before our eyes. And of course the actual physical acts are carried out in the Eastern world, but the complicity and the simcha and the babbling of the president of Harvard and of MIT and of University of Pennsylvania and all the millions and millions of people that they represent is something which is the Western world. That the Western world is that has created all these institutions of democracy and of progress and of higher education and so on and so forth. They themselves have not climbed out of the Middle Ages as far as Jews are concerned. And ultimately, these institutions not only can they not cure the shorish of the machla, of the sickness of the world, but they only add to the sickness of the world. So Rav Kook writes, Or HaTshuva Yafia. The cure of the world, of course, is with the light of Am Yisrael, the light of Tshuva. So then you have it in English also. So read a little bit in the Hebrew, we'll read it in the English. Oros HaMilchama. The light of return must before us appear. Each man shall throw away his idols of silver and gold. Elilei kaspo v'elilei zahava. Spoke about it a little bit this morning. I know this. I'm so upset about this. So I'm sorry. I'm talking about other things off the page, but it's just so upsetting and hurting to all of us. But Elilei, these gods of kesef and the gods of silver and the gods of gold, that we feel it. People stopped worshiping these things a long time ago. There's no longer. I mean, there's still some places, in the world, but some pockets of old-fashioned avodah zarah. But for the most part, the Western world has certainly climbed out of gods of silver and gods of gold. But those ladies those ladies who were being interrogated, at the end they bowed to the gods of silver and the gods of gold, because the reason they couldn't say the truth, even if we're assuming that they're not just anti-Semites themselves, but the underlying reason they couldn't say the truth is, of course, the universities are getting billions and billions of dollars. Their places are getting billions of dollars from the Arabs, and they're afraid to say the truth. They can't, and they were warned about saying the truth. So the idolatry of silver, of gods of silver, gods of gold, which the Balatani spoke about, avodah zarah that's going in modern times. Avodah zarah is morphed into the worship of money, and that's what Rav Kook is talking about. The light of return must appear. Each man shall throw away, it says in Pasuk, each man shall throw away his idols of silver and gold. And all will revert to the goodness of Hashem. All will revert to the goodness of Hashem. Oz tikochit hatarbus ha'hoibus b'chol yisay deser sif yaser te'atre b'chol mechaneser. Then the present civilization will disappear with all its foundations, literature and theater and so forth. Literature and theater and so forth, all the dimyonis of that whole world, the Western world. Rav Kook was a tremendous believer in the power of holy literature, and Rav Kook was somebody who supported the writers and the poets, those who were writing in kedusha to help the world do tshuva. But as far as secular literature is concerned, and the theater and so forth, it is all the laws founded on inanity and iniquity. All evil etiquette will pass away. All of these so-called laws that are founded on hevel, on narishkeit, v'ovel, and worse than narishkeit, on evil. Chol nimusei hachayim haroim, hachatoim kalil yachleifu. V'nizgav Hashem levado v'yom hahu. V'nizgav Hashem levado, and Hashem alone will be exalted on that day. V'nizgav Hashem levado v'yom hahu. Ha'erik haruchani v'hamasi, asher b'sifyono ha'hovi lo yochel la'atzar, and kol tiferes v'chachmaso ba'ad shefach domim rabim, Rav Kook writes that the spiritual and practical fabric that in its present state, again with all of the progress that has been made, the spiritual and practical fabric that in its present state could not prevent, despite all its glorious wisdom, academia, all its glorious wisdom, it could not prevent what? Wholesale slaughter. So here we are in 2023, and people are still being thrown into ovens, and people are still being beheaded, and so on. Couldn't prevent. So all of this progress and all of this wisdom couldn't prevent wholesale slaughter and such fearful world destruction. So all of this has proven itself invalid from its very inception. And he brings a pasuk in Tehillim, Zoiru Rishoim Meirochem To Mi Beten Doivrei Chazav. In English, the wicked are estranged from the womb. Rav Kook is speaking about how, he's explaining how the world had great hope. Just like all of us had great hope in all of this progress and democracy and so on, that it was going to cure the world of all the evil that's in it. But he's saying that to begin with, from the womb, this was already not, it was already wrong. From its very beginning. The wicked are estranged from the womb. The Rasha has to do tshuva. So you could take a monkey. I remember that once we had, when I was a kid in yeshiva, 6th grade, they had some kind of an assembly that we were having a show. I don't remember maybe it was Rosh Chodesh, I don't know, Tu B'Shvat, whatever it was. We had an assembly, and we were happy to get away from class and everything. And we were sitting in the auditorium. So this must be around something like 1967 or something like that, 66. And we're sitting in the auditorium, and they had a for all of us, they had this show of a monkey that they dressed up in a suit with a necktie. And the monkey was doing all kinds of modern things, going around like a little bicycle and juggling. It was we were having a great time. It was great entertainment. And there was this guy. I remember his name was Larry. I don't remember his last name. This guy Larry. He was always getting into trouble. Larry he was like this funny kid. Larry from Bayside. I remember. Larry from Bayside. But he had in his lunch bag. He had a banana. Listen to him. You could hear where this is going. He took the banana out and he threw it onto the stage where the monkey was doing all of his tricks. It got scary. The monkey went out of his mind. Or mind, whatever that is. The monkey went crazy. He jumped off the thing. He jumped on this banana. Then he started going into looking for more stuff. He went crazy, running into the kids, and everybody's screaming and howling. And Nebuchadnezzar, Rabbi Umlis, he had to go running to try to catch the monkey. And I was like, Mamish Ayanta we had over there. The place was crazy. And all the chairs turned over, and the monkeys running all over the place looking for more bananas. So you can't get a monkey to do tshuva just by dressing up in a suit and teaching a couple of tricks. You understand? So that's what democracy has tried. Democracy, the Enlightenment, the Haskalah, French Revolution, American Revolution, everything's gewaldig. You try to take the riches of the world that comes from the womb, and you try to put on a suit and teach it a couple of tricks. Then the second you throw a banana, it's all for foul. Whatever that banana is, it's for foul. And then everything just returns to beheading and burning, and all the wise sages of Chelm from MIT and from Harvard and the rest of the way they sit there say, well, the context has to be in the context. Like, I don't even understand what they were talking about.
Creativity.
What?
That's what they said. They said in Colombia they had this whole thing that it was October 7th showed the creativity.
Oh, that was the professor said that he was they were a very big Russia as a professor. He found it enthralling and exciting. But we understand he's a Russia and he's said those things all the years. But the fact that the whole institution is goes with this, and that these people are not being thrown out, and the students that are bullying and intimidating and harassing, that they're not being expelled from school, all of this. So the monkey can't be cured by just dressing it up and being somebody that's civilized. So you take a guy from Hamas and you put a suit on. At least Arafat went with his shmat on his head the whole time, and he was a Russian from the womb, and that's how he died in Russia. And you knew who you were dealing with. But then you got Abbas, who's just a bigger Russia, or even a bigger Russia than Arafat, but he puts on a suit, and he has an education, a Western education. So they already made it, even though his doctorate was on the subject of Holocaust denial. So but they dressed him up like a monkey, and he is the head of the Palestinian Authority. And America thinks that he's going to He's going to die before that. But America thinks he's going to be in charge of Gaza after the Milchama. The Palestinian Authority is going to run the show in Gaza. Kilo, the Palestinian Authority is some sort of a symbol of democracy. How could it be that any normal person would say that the Palestinian Authority can in any way lead can create a democracy? How can anybody say such a thing? So you see, the whole thing is bankrupt. There's not one Palestinian in the world that thinks that the Palestinian Authority is democratic. There's not one person, there's no Palestinian that thinks that. Because all those poor shlubs, they have nothing to eat because all these people have their mansions all over the world, and the rest of them sit there, they have nothing to eat, and they're going to make a thing. So the United States thinks that now we're going to have the Palestinians, the Palestinian Authority, who hasn't been able to run anything or take care of anything all the years that they've been there. They're now going to be put to Gaza, and we're going to let them take charge of what's going on in Gaza. So this is all coming from the Western world. Now, that svara is coming from Washington. That svara is coming from Washington. That's coming from the seat in America of democracy and progress. So how can anybody have such a meeting? What are they talking about? It would be better to have the Saudis or the Emirates or somebody, even though we're not talking here about, you understand, the Chavetz Chaim. It'd be better to put those Rishonim at least instead of the other Rishonim. But no, the Palestinian Authority. But this is exactly what every single thing that Rav Kook is saying. That's the pasuk. The pasuk is Zoru Rishonim Mirachem. The wicked are estranged from the womb. That's not fixed by building nice buildings and putting on neckties and calling somebody a president or a prime minister. You can't fix that like that. That's not how it's fixed. Those who speak lies go astray from their very birth. There's a culture of rishus. There's a culture of evil. I'm not just talking what they teach them in Gaza, what they were taught from the time that they're in the world. What are they being taught in their schools? From the teachers who are sent by the United Nations. What are they being taught in their schools? They're being taught that Jews are monkeys and pigs. That's what they're being taught. So that's their whole chinuch. So from the womb there's their issues, and then from their very birth, those who speak lies go astray from their very birth. That's how they're raised. That's how they're raised. So it's a very hard thing for the soldiers to figure out, because a lot of the Hamasnikas, they went upstairs and they went among the population. So how are you supposed to figure out? The Torah says anybody who's 16 years old over, you should kill them. Any male who's 16 years old plus means he's from Hamas. And if he hasn't officially joined it, it's just because he's waiting online to get his rifle. But they're all it's a way that we're taught. It's the way that we're raised. The whole chinuch, they make it sound kilo. All the people in Gaza are just they love Israel, they love the Jews, they love America. It's just a couple of bad guys, the bad apples, a couple of bad guys, and it's a rachmanis, it's a big rachmanis. It's a rachmanis on many of the people. Of course, rachmanis. There are people that are not guilty of anything. They don't want to do anything. They just want to live normal lives. There are a few like that. A few, I don't know how many, but Ruba were talking about that they voted for this. And when Jews are being dragged on the street and being raped and being killed, they're handing out candies and they're firing fireworks. They're happy. So the whole thing is a chinuch of rishus, and it's the way that they came to the world, and all its progress is not but false counsel and evil entrapment. Chol mahalocha kuloi eino ki'im atzas sheker v'nichlei reshoyim musubachim. And all its progress is not but false counsel and evil entrapment. Shem kshurim hanetios hanafshiyos v'agufanios, connected to the psychic and physical tendencies. Ashenis atzmu v'advicholius, that have become entrenched in the architecture of contemporary nations. Yeah. Connect the psychic and even the psychological. It's not a matter of just democracy. It's all the psychic and physical tendencies that have become entrenched in the architecture of contemporary nations. and the building of, because the world has not done tshuva, because the world is not in a place of Nizkav Hashem Levada B'Yom HaHu. Shem Kshuv Manetiyas Hanafshias V'Gufonias Asher Nis'atzum B'Darcholias Shel Binyan Halumim Shel Zmanenu Shcheichei Hashem. That's the problem. Those who have forgotten Hashem. Shcheichei Hashem Yichil Yoisa. Forgetful of Hashem in reality. Chiyosim, of course, means in the kidneys and the kishkas, but it means he's saying in the reality. V'noisim es shmo al svasam. Now, but bearing his name on their lips. Bearing his name. Before any Ishmaeli carries out his wishes, he always calls in the name of God. He's always in the name of God. And all the democracies in God we trust. And everything's in the name of God. All the wishes in the name of God. They have God on their lips. They have the name of God on their lips. But they've forgotten Hashem. They've forgotten who Hashem is. They have the name of Hashem on their lips. They've forgotten who Hashem is. Just on their lips. Okay. Therefore, Chorov Techrav Kol HaTarbus HaHoivis. Therefore, the entire contemporary civilization is doomed. And we're zeicher to, it's scary, there's a lot of crazy things going on, but we're watching that right now. Rav Kook said this at the beginning of the 20th century. The entire contemporary civilization is doomed. My wife told me that in one of those universities, there was a professor, I think what she told me, there was a professor who was thrown out, who was fired, because he suggested that the difference between a zachar and a keva is biological. That there's a biological difference between a man and a woman, and that professor was fired. And Penn? He was thrown out for saying such a thing, or he or she, I don't know, maybe he don't know, I don't know, but was thrown out from university for saying that there's a chiluk between the zachar and the keva. For that, you're thrown out from university. But for saying in Colombia that it's exciting and enthralling, what happened on October 7th, they get right there. He's giving his lecture this week. He's still continuing on teaching. It's an amazing thing. But you see, this whole thing with cancel culture and woke, that contemporary civilization is doomed. Those who are in the parades are going to be the future teachers, professors, politicians of the next generation. In other words, all the younger people who are here, your children, we finished all being Yerushalayim, this whole game will be done. But Chalila, just talking how it would look, how it could look, is that those who will be going to schools and so on, outside of the world of Torah, their teachers, their rebellion and their moros and university are going to be these people. What are they going to be? They're going to be these people. They're going to be, again, everything should end in a way that nobody Chalila suffers and is hurt. But there's going to be thousands of authors. There are going to be hundreds of thousands and millions of books written, movies produced, all kinds of things that are shows, all kinds of things that are going to be made by the people who are right now marching from the river to the sea. They're going to be the ones who are going to. Again, like I said this morning about Chassidus, it's not going to be somebody from a community college that's going to be writing the book. Maybe, he works on himself or something. But otherwise, it's going to be one of these people from these universities. These are the ones who are going to be writing these books. They're the ones who are going to be defining what civilization looks like 15, 20 years from now. The same ones who are marching now from the river to the sea. The same ones who say that there's no difference between a zach and a keva. And if you say there's a difference between a zach and a keva, you're a Russia. But you're out of Russia for burning children. For that, you don't get fired. For that, nothing happens to you. If you support that, if you accept that, if you don't criticize that, if you don't condemn that, you could be the president of the university. And you can't say things, you can't let the words out of your mouth to say the truth. These are the ones who are going to be running the Western world. But Rav Kook is saying that it's doomed. we see that it's doomed. We see that it's doomed. You have the people that we're living at a time where not to give money to the police, where criminals, thieves are allowed to go into a store and they're allowed to steal to a certain amount. So now in different places in America, that even simple, I'm not talking about expensive things, everything they have to put behind, count things that are locked. Because why? Because otherwise they go and they ransack the place. And if you criticize the people who are the Ganovim, you lose your job. I was talking to somebody who works in a very chashuv law firm yesterday, and he was telling me the pachad that's in the law firm, because the people who are some of the big people in the law firm, they want because you're supposed to show which side you're on. So they want to come out very strong in favor of Israel, and they wanted to put out some kind of a statement about how they were having a whole meeting about how they're not going to hire any of these people, whatever. But they got such pushback from some of the people giving money and other things and all kinds of politics in the law firm. And the people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs. And if you say anything, you could lose your job. And this lawyer told me that there's a woman that they hired, a Muslim woman who they hired. I have nothing against hiring a Muslim for a job. The person's a regular fine person. But they hired this Muslim, and they found out that she was a very, very big member of the Students of Justice of Palestine. She was very involved in Students of Justice. So now there's in the law firm. This is what he was telling me in the law firm. So there are those who say that she should be fired. But so she is that she already left that organization because she left. She didn't leave because she already she was already working. So she left that. By October 7th, she wasn't working there. She wasn't in that organization on October 7th. So therefore, she says, I was not in that organization, even though she refuses to renounce Hamas, and she also is not denying the fact that she was part of that whole thing. And so she was taking part in the demonstration, and everything. And the law firm, not only can they not fire her, but this lawyer was called, because he's a very chashuv lawyer, he was called by somebody else and said, see what you could do to build her up. He was afraid to talk. I should build her up. Is he calling an Orthodox Jew? To build her up and to get her involved. She's a Hamas, and they're afraid. They can't say anything. So contemporary civilization is doomed. There's not like I'm not into conspiracy things, and I'm not like that's not my mahalach, conspiracy stuff and crazy things. I wasn't one of those who believed that during COVID that there was a secret thing to poison everybody in the world and to kill the whole world with vaccines. I wasn't crazy about the vaccines, but I wasn't shiggy with any of this stuff. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. Western civilization is doomed. Just a matter of time. It's falling apart. And on its ruins will be established a world order of truth. B'das Hashem and God consciousness. A world order of truth and God consciousness. All the West has to do is to replay what happened at that hearing the other day. Just to replay those presidents of the universities, the symbols of Western civilization. Replayed over and over and over again. Just played over and over and over again. You see that this is the end. And on its ruins will be established a world order of truth, and God consciousness. Not God consciousness of whatever they scream out, and then killing people. Of true God consciousness. You see, there was God consciousness, and the popes. I don't know what does the present pope have to say about condemning Hamas? The tzaddik who's sitting now in the Vatican. Did he come out with any strong diburim against Hamas?
He called the Israelis terrorists.
He called the Israelis what?
Terrorists. Their acts are terror.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he said, don't be terror. Don't be terror.
He didn't say anything about Hamas?
he said that was terror, but he said that what Israel's doing now is terror.
Okay. We'll see what's going to happen to his yarmulke. What's going to happen to his yarmulke. So here, this is the center of Edom. This is Bevoya me Edom Chamutz Begodem Sever Chol Bevash V'Tefel V'Vayim. I'm not going to translate it. Here he sits on the throne of Edom, and the Jews are the terrorists. I didn't hear that he says. Yeah. So he's the representation of God consciousness in the Christian world or the Catholic world. He's supposed to be. I don't think that the Gerusim so many people. I mean, they go out for big things, but I don't think it's. It's not certainly not as strong as it used to be. But he is the symbol of God consciousness in the world. He's considered to be the man of God in the Christian world, at least the Catholic world. There are probably hundreds of millions of people who are karei mishtachve to him and to everything that he says. And if he would have been sitting there the other day in that room, and they would be asking these questions, so it comes out he also wouldn't have good answer. He also would say the same thing. Yeah, it's in the context, and only if you act upon it. So he used the word terrorists.
He said both Israel and Palestinian communities are suffering and called for peace. He said the situation in the Middle East has moved beyond war to terrorism. So I guess he's calling us terrorists as well.
Okay. So that's what Rav Kook is saying. And on its ruins will be built a world order of truth and God consciousness. Then he ends with a pasuk, like he usually ends with a pasuk. And then at the end of days, the mountain of Hashem will be established on the mountaintop, exalted above the hills, and all the nations will stream to it. Does anybody have a tillim with the English in it? Is there a tillim somebody can give me? Or a Tanakh with English, is there something here? I got it. Sky. So there's the Kapitel Tehillim that a lot of us have been saying from the beginning of the Milchama is Pei Gimel, right? Shim is Malos Elakim Al Domilach Al Techash Val Tishkait Kel. So yeah, I'll just read a few sentences in English. We're asking Hashem not to be silent or deaf and not to be still. For behold, your foes are in uproar, and those who I hate you have raised their head. Against your people they plot deviously. They take counsel against those sheltered by you. They say, come, let us cut them off from nationhood. So Israel's name will not be remembered any longer. For they take counsel together unanimously. No? They strike a covenant against you. The tents of Edom and Ishmaelites, Moab and Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, Plishtim, with the inhabitants of Tyre, Sur. Even Ashur joined with them, became the strong arm of Lot's son, Sel. Do to them as to Midian, as to Sisera, and so on, who were destroyed in Eindar. They become the filth of the earth. Make their nobles like Oriv and Zev, right? And their princes like Zev and Shemot, who said, we will conquer for ourselves the pleasant habitations of God. Meaning Yerushalayim. Oh my, and there's so, my God, make them like the whirling chaff, like stubble before the wind, like a fire burning the forest, and like a flame that sets mountains ablaze. So pursue them with your tempest, and terrify them with your storm. Fill their faces with shame, and they will seek your name, Hashem. Let them be shamed and terrified forever. Then they will be disgraced and they will perish. But that's not the end of the parak. Then they will be disgraced and they will perish. That's not the end of the parak. The end of the parak is V'yedu ki ata shimcha Hashem levadecha elyon hakol haaretz. Then they will know that you, whose name is Hashem, are alone. Elyon hakol haaretz, most high over the earth. That was the ultimate tachlis. We're not talking about with the exception of Amalek. The ultimate tachlis is that the world should do tshuva. The leaders of the Sharm, of course, will all be killed, and Amalek will be wiped out. And the tachlis is, if all of these strong words fill their faces with shame, and they will seek your name, Hashem, they will be shamed and terrified forever, and so on. They'll be disgraced. If at the end, though, it ends with V'yedu ki ata shimcha Hashem levadecha. The tachlis is, with all of that, the tachlis is V'yedu ki ata Hashem nizga Hashem levado. And that's how Rav Kook ends. V'hoy ba'achris hayom nochen yahar beis Hashem v'reish arm nisam megvos v'naru left kol hagoyim. It all all of the nations, all of the goyim will themselves will come to Har Hashem. We're not looking to burn or behead anybody who's done this stuff to us. I mean, not the ones who actually carried out the crimes, but the world that's watching this, and the world will do tshuva. And the tachlis is that the world will do tshuva, and that the goyim themselves will come to Har Hashem. The goyim will come to bring karbonis, and will come and will be made, and they'll do the tshuva, and the whole world. That's the tachlis lasakin olam b'malchus shin dalad yud. That the whole world will have a tikkun b'malchus shin dalad yud. We were beginning to see it. We should be zeichet to see the end. And everybody should be healthy and safe. And we should be Chanukah. We should be zeichet to see Yibarim Yad Chaloshim, Rav Yad Matam, Rishon Yad Tmein, V'Zeim Yad Rizker Sasach, and L'Shem Amitis Amen. Okay, everybody, good Shabbos.
Wow.